Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this session on content updates. My name is Tamal, and I'm the Content Product Manager at Ex Libris. In this session, we will review the amazing work that was done by the content team, and all of it aimed at improving how Ex Libris products process and manage metadata, with the goal of making it easy for you to manage e-resources. Our main efforts this year focused on improving the quality of metadata, the different aspects of working with the community, and various projects that were completed during 2024. Nom Fass, who also joined us for the session, he's the Director of Provider Relations, and he will overview the exciting news about the work done with the Provider Relations team, and I will conclude with a sneak peek for 2025. And let's start with reviewing all the content that you currently have at your fingertips. We currently collaborate with approximately 5,000 content providers from around the world, sending us metadata for over 1 billion journal articles, which are a fifth of the records in CDI, currently amounting to over 5.5 billion records in total. Now, these content providers also send us metadata to support over 41,000 collections in our three knowledge bases, which are Alma CZ, SFX, and the 360 KB. Now, these collections span 15 million bibliographic records in Alma CZ, and they link to 58 million portfolios. Now, these are huge numbers that keep growing every year, and almost all of it is maintained automatically with our many different processes. And just so you know, we have these numbers also available for you. We're updating them in the Knowledge Center monthly. This is, for example, for CDI. If you're interested in getting more CDI stats, then you can feel free and visit this page. Let me just paste it here in the chat. So this is for CDI, and you can see also peer-reviewed items, open access records, and quick links information. We also have an Alma statistics page, and it has the same purpose, to give you more information about the content in Alma that you're using and how it supports you in maybe various reports that you need to submit and to your management, or just to follow up on what we're doing. Also pasting this link in the chat. It's all under the content section in the Knowledge Center. So we're basically talking about a very, very dynamic content ecosystem that is designed and developed to take an active part of this very fastly changing landscape, and it helps us to find the right opportunities to evolve. This is how we can support adding 20 new content providers a year, adding roughly 4,000 collections each year, and have a 20% growth in records further in knowledge bases and 5% growth for CDI, as well as annually updating 10 million records in the CZ. And with all this going on, all this huge amount of metadata that we're managing, we still need to make sure that we can bring quality metadata to you and your patrons. And so we need to have a robust system to support all these changes without losing sight of the record quality. So let me tell you a little bit about how we're doing this and what we did in 2024 to support the quality. Starting with one of our more prominent projects this year, which was groundbreaking in a way that was never done before, and that is enriching bibliographic records in bulk using AI. Currently, we have enriched over 49,000 records from eBook Central. Now, these book records had a preliminary bibliographic record, which was missing either subject or summary or language or all three of them. And we used AI prompts on the partial full text of the ebook to generate these fields. We're not cataloging from scratch. We're not using, and we are using a closed environment that is not releasing the full text or relying on the web to generate these records. That way we protect the copyrights. And of course, everything is done according to the legal guidance and agreements of the content provider. Now, our goal is to reach 100,000 records by end of 2024. And we recently also added the table of contents, which we are adding not strictly by using generative AI, but other methods. Still, we are marking it to show that it's being added in an automated way, not through original cataloging coming from the content provider. Now, maybe it's a good opportunity just to mention this is probably a path many content providers have been thinking about, but they might not have the capacity or the capability to pursue because original cataloging and creating robust web records is very expensive. For content providers, it may not be a part of their main scope or plans, as you know, their main objective is to host online full text in a secure and simple way to access. But having Ex Libris bring this project to life allows content providers who may not have the bandwidth to invest in improving their own web records, provide them with a safe place to produce quality records from the full text in a way that saves them time and effort. And if you haven't seen it yet, this is how the records look like. You can see subfield 7 to mention what was generated by AI. You can see the 505 for this book for the table of content in French, and still was able to produce the table of content. And let me just paste another knowledge article in the chat. So if you want to review more details on this process, what was done, the rationale, the different questions, it's a very detailed knowledge article that can give you a lot of background and information about what we did and of course why we did it. Another work that was done to improve the quality focused on the highly activated book collections. We had 920 collections with over 100 activations and slowly worked on bringing them to higher quality. And that means quality of 90% of the records are above 75 average of their bibliographic ranking. We started this project back in 2021, and we had 32% of these collections that were in high quality. And slowly we pushed them over the last 3 years, over 85% of these collections that now have higher quality, have 90% of the records in high quality. Maybe using a sports analogy, that working with content is a marathon and it's not a sprint. I mean, it looks like a long time that it takes, and it is because it is a very complex process, and our teams, they plan for the long run. We know this is not something that can be done within a short span of time. It requires support. It requires understanding from the providers of the importance of metadata quality and how the quality of web records is a huge part of the satisfaction on your patrons and the impact this has on your workflows when you're planning your processes, managing your resources. So getting to these numbers was a result of very intensive work from our provider relations team, who specifically targeted content providers that were willing to cooperate and change their own flows. And we also used external cataloging, sending the metadata to a third-party enrichment service. And also it included the enrichment agreements that were pursued by our legal team to allow the usage of richer files. And of course, cataloging team from content operations who worked very hard to find the metadata elements that could be used in order to improve the records and slowly pulling these collections above the threshold. So let's talk a bit about the work that the content team has been doing with the community, mainly to inform you of all the special work that was done. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge one of our best work practices with the community, and that's working with the content working group and with the community zone management group. These two separate groups of volunteers take time from their very busy schedule to review policies and practices and issues with content in general and in the community zone in particular. They provide valuable input based on their experience and their colleagues' feedback. So I would like to take this opportunity and thank you all for your efforts to improve content practices for the benefit of the entire Ex Libris community, and your hard work is very much appreciated. Now let's review some support statistics. So you can see that for content related cases in the past 2 years, there has been the percentage of daily responses to cases it climbed from 47 as an average in the first half of 2022 to 72% in the first half of 2024. So our support analysts are making great efforts to acknowledge that you have opened support tickets and that you would know that your query has entered their queue. Now, other than responsiveness, the content support team has also increased their resolution metrics. So while in the first half of 2022, only a third of the cases were resolved in under 2 weeks, for the first half of 2024, we're already resolving 71% of the cases in under 2 weeks. Now, I hope you're also feeling this improvement in better responsiveness, faster resolution. And let me just ask you this. Are you using the chat for content cases? Now, I know sometimes content topics can seem complex and that they will need maybe some back and forth, but you can see from these numbers here that many cases that relate to content issues are being resolved in under 2 weeks. So maybe next time your case can be resolved on the spot in a chat with a support analyst. So asking you to give it a shot and might be surprised and have your cases resolved quicker than you expect them to. Moving on to Idea Exchange, which is the channel for you to ask for new collections, and reviewing the statistics for existing providers submitted in 2024, we can see that over half of the requests were completed, and 9% were already available in the knowledge bases. So that brings us to a total of 62% of your requests for collections that are not available from existing providers, and they were answered with a yes. 18% of the requests were closed, usually because content providers could not accommodate the request. Maybe the request from an existing provider was for a legacy product, and the content provider does not maintain a title list for that. It could be enrichment or CDI metadata. Some of these files cannot be produced by the content providers. They don't track it. They don't create it with their current metadata management systems. So even though the request came for an existing content provider, we had to close it down. Well, 13% of the requests are still in progress. 7% are planned to be added, either knowledge bases or CDI or both. And from Idea Exchange, moving to Nurse for last year, just a summary of what was done in 2024. We reached out to 12 new content providers and completed 5 of the ideas, which sometimes resulted in more than one collection. For example, on the right, you can see it. So if the request was for WIT Press and they said, well, we have also journals and also books. So if the request was for one collection, it could have resulted in more than one. 2 of the requests in Nurse were completed as zero title databases. We could not get full metadata from these providers. They either don't produce title lists or they don't have discovery metadata for CDI. Now for 2024, we prioritized Lithuanian and French, and we're glad we could accommodate at least some of the requests. And I'll just paste again in the chat, having a lot of knowledge articles coming your way. That's the review of the 2024 Nurse. And you can see the full details of which collections were added, which are still being discussed, and which have been completed, and which have been closed as won't do. So let's just look again at the WIT Press eLibrary collections. These were added relatively quickly, and already in April, the metadata for these 2 separate collections were added. And let's just add the metrics for these. We can see the quality is also pretty good, 83 for the journals as an average, and 70 for the average bibliographic rank for the books. But I would also like to get your attention on another metrics for that, and that's the activations. So you can see that they're pretty slim, and this resource actually made it through the Nurse voting cycle. So it received votes from your community. Community members asked to add this, and there was a lot of work both from the content working group to curate and rank the requests, and on Ex Libris team side. So I'm not sure why there are so little activations for a resource that was targeted and requested by the community. And so now I'm going to ask Scott if he can add a poll for you attendees. Maybe you were just not aware that these collections were added. So I'd appreciate your responses on how would you prefer to learn about the enhancement request results. Just fill it out with what you think, with what you would what you believe would be the best way to communicate these enhancement results. So last year nurse, this year curve, the community enhancement requests and voting. This is coming right up. And there are 95 new content providers that were collected from the Idea Exchange. The content working group has curated this list. And these requests were posted by you and your colleagues from around the world. So please cast your vote for new content providers that you would want Ex Libris to add to the knowledge bases and CDI. And let us know, what are your content gaps that are most impactful for you and your users. And this year we are prioritizing Chinese and Italian. So keep an eye for these ideas. They will get priority on the final list. And the voting ends just next week on December 9th. So please don't delay, cast your votes away. Now let's go over some of the projects that were completed in 2024. And starting with a project that actually started a while back, and that was to add ISBN 13 to bibliographic records that only had ISBN 10. Now, this was aimed to standardize records, improve the search and retrieval, and the process itself removed the dashes from ISBN 10, adding ISBN 13 when for the online it's added to the $020A. For the print, it's added to the $776Z. And once the ISBNs have been added, they were grouped based on the ISBN 10 and 13, and the records now have both identifiers. And you can see how it looked before, how it looks after. If you're interested in more details on this really great project, was promoted by the cataloging team. Guessed right, another knowledge article coming your way to get a deeper insight on this project and what was done. So another great development, we cooperated together with DOAJ, the Directory of Open Access Journals, and that was aimed at endorsing and supporting open access, specifically on accuracy and usability. Now, we all know false indication of open access can result in reaching a paywall. That's super frustrating for users, but it also has a side effect of reducing the credibility of open access metadata. So we supported DOAJ to develop a delete indication to signal when articles need to be removed from DOAJ, and that way it will not be retrieved in CDI as open access. Now, this makes open access resources indexed by DOAJ more accurate and trustworthy, and I think it's a really great example of cooperating with a provider to achieve mutual goals. And another important thing that was done towards supporting open access is our continuous work with Unpaywall, who have been extremely cooperative and accommodating to our metadata ingestion process. Now, we work together on increasing the accuracy to better indicate what is open access so that no paywalled content will be included. By creating 2 new separate collections for books and journals, we can also support better management of open access. That way you can avoid getting results of only table of contents if you choose not to activate the book collection, if just a table of contents in open access. And we know that these kind of situations are more frequent than we would have wanted them to be. We also changed our update frequency for the collection and refreshing the CDI metadata feed that we receive from Unpaywall. And that better reflects the changes and updates done by support analysts on our end and on paywall end as well. This is done by good communication, collaboration, and that's how we support open access content and CDI. Now, I know we still have pending cases, and honestly, I think we probably always will have pending cases of changes and false indications of open access, because this is this type of resources are very dynamic with their behavior and their um, their access types, and they can be considered open access can be considered differently among various metadata providers. We do need to consider the benefits of having such a resource. I believe this offsets the downside for open access, especially when we have continuous improvements from both our way of managing this collection and how Paywall is updating their flows and quality assurance. Now, another highlight of content, but this is specifically for a collection that has been added to knowledge bases, is the Overdrive Overbooks and eBooks collection. Now, it was released in early November. Uh, this collection requires specific updating of the holdings. So let me just give you another knowledge article for those interested in activating it. Knowledge articles in 360 and SFX will be added shortly. But that's just another example of content that could be moving slow sometimes. I know that this idea was opened a while back. We get there eventually. And I would like to thank everyone who, first of all, the person who opened this idea originally, and all those that voted for it and supported and added comments. Another one of our ongoing projects is collections being updated daily, and that's aimed at speeding up the collection updates, and that started about 2 years ago. So currently 87% of our community zone collections are being updated daily, and they're responsible for 81% of the portfolios. That means that they're also being updated on a daily basis. So any file content provider sends us for these collections, either updating linking information or removing titles or adding titles. Now, this is being processed, and within a day, these changes are reflected in the community zone. This affects over 185,000 activations worldwide for all of these collections. And the practical meaning of that is less cases, our collections, and as a result, your holdings are reflected to patrons on more accurately and up to date, and you can rely more on the community zone. This started as an initiative called Data Excellence. Don't know if you remember that. So we took the initiative, we made the change, and we set the bar according to your expectations going forward. This is what we're planning to do for all of our collections eventually. And just to have a better reflection of what it actually means, I'd like to present here an interesting slide about cases that were open for some of the collections that moved to daily updates. And you can see that the first column shows the name of the collection. The second column shows the percentage of reduction in cases that were open the following year after these collections moved to daily updates. And just look at these numbers. Some of these collections had a reduction of 90% cases that were open on them for updates. And that's incredible numbers. So the third column shows the number of activations. So all of these collections are being highly activated. And probably many of you here in the attendance can identify some of your activated collections in this list. And the last column shows how many portfolios are updated daily for each collection. And in total, we can see an overall reduction of 25% of cases opened for collections after they have moved to a daily updates routine. Now that frees up a lot of your time, and it frees up a lot of our time too. So those who remember the webinars on data excellence can now see the full impact of taking a pain point raised by the community, and then we took it, we analyzed it, we thought about a strategy to address issues around it, and we supported the process with further analysis of the different cases, the activations, and what possible developments can support these strategies. And this is the actual result, an actual improvement and time being saved. So, content is a marathon, not a sprint. Could be an obstacle course sometimes, but these changes take time. And just wanted to say that we appreciate your patience, and we hope you can already feel the difference in the changes that we implement. And moving now to Noam to give an overview of the provider relations team.
Thank you so much, Tamar, for this lovely presentation and for allowing me to participate in this event, because it was really important for me to reflect to the community how hard the team or my team is working behind the scenes to make sure that the content that you guys have in the community zone or in our knowledge bases is full, meaning all the titles are there, rich, the metadata is rich, and accurate. Your patrons can gain access to any links that they press. This is a very important element for us. This is our main mission, and my team is working very hard, or if I use Tamar analogy, is running the marathon as fast as they can in order to make sure that you will get the content as fast and as accurate as possible. So thanks, Tamar, for allowing me to present here. I would like to share with you, in addition to our marathon run, we have also some initiatives that we work in order to improve internally and externally with providers, internally between our systems. But one of the main initiatives, or two of the main initiatives, are the one that I chose to present to you today. Next slide, please. The first initiative that I wanted to share with you is what we call the Manifest Initiative. Of course, I shared in the chat a link that explains more about this initiative. This link is more oriented towards content providers, but I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to understand the motivation once you'll access the link. So what is the Manifest Initiative? A manifest is a file, an Excel file, which we ask content providers to populate whenever they want to notify us that they have a new collection. We proactively outreach content providers and interest them in working with us in this way. So they will populate the Excel file. They will add a new row every time that they would like to notify us about a new collection. Once they will load this file, an automated process will take the file and automatically create a case for my team to add the collection. This is replacing email communication or any other means of communication and expedite the process of creating new collections dramatically. If I say that usually the process takes between 4 and 6 weeks, now we see that the numbers are closer to 16 days for processing a new collection for providers who work with a manifest. Now, the reason that I want to emphasize that it's only for providers who are working with Manifest is because we have now 12 providers that we were able to outreach successfully, and they are providing us Manifest. But also, I would like to ask your assistance. If you see that you have a certain content providers that you believe will be able to work with us and will benefit from having a Manifest Initiative project with us, feel free to either email me, and I'm pasting my email in the chat. You also have it at the end of this presentation, or have them email me, whatever works for you, whatever is convenient for you and comfortable for you. Just interest them, tell them that there is such an initiative, and I will work, or my team will work as hard as we can to add more and more providers. This is, again, in order to make sure that we will reduce the time that it takes from the moment providers let us know that there's a new collection until the moment that it is actually available for you in our knowledge bases. This is our main goal. We would like to make sure that the content is available for you. So this was the Manifest Initiative. We have 12 providers working with this. Multiple collections were already created as a result of this. We want to add more and more during 25. Hopefully, by the end of 25, this number will increase dramatically, and I will share with you the outcome. Next slide, please. Thank you. The second initiative that I would like to share with you today is an initiative that we started late 2023, early 2024. We call it the Provider Platform. The Provider Platform, just like the name, is a platform that Ex Libris is giving content providers. So now content providers can communicate with us via manifest, can communicate with us via email. But what we learned is that there's sometimes a need for content providers to see exactly what you, our customers, see. So instead of getting a case from a customer and asking them to send a screenshot from the community zone so they will know exactly what they want to tackle, or maybe they will send you back to Ex Libris. We gave content provider access to the provider platform, which is very similar to the community zone. Content providers can access this platform, but they can only see their content exactly as it appears in the community zone, but only their content. Let me just give you a quick use case how this can, or how I learned that it benefits both providers and customers, is that when a customer reports a case to content providers, they are now able to give them either the collection ID or the portfolio ID, which they would like to investigate about. And content providers actually access the provider platform and they can see for their own eyes the actual issue and see whether it's something they need to handle or they need to communicate with us in order to handle the issue. But the main motivation here, we don't want customers to be the middleman between content providers and Ex Libris. We believe that this tool will dramatically reduce the number of times that you would need to act as middleman and communicate between content providers and Ex Libris. So the Manifest initiative and the Provider Platform initiative both started in 2024. I would say that we worked with 5 content providers regarding the provider platform. We received feedback, we improved, much like we work with the community. We work close with content providers, we understand their pain points, we understand their need, and we enhance the provider platform accordingly. We started with 5 providers, we now have 112 providers with access to the provider platform. Again, I am pasting in the chat documentation about the provider platform. Feel free to read the documentation. If you feel that there is a provider who would benefit from access to the provider platform and maybe does not have access, feel free to tell them about it. Feel free to tell me about it, whatever is convenient for you, and we'll make sure to reach out to the provider and give them access. There's a list of content providers with access to the provider platform in the documentation page, so you can check there and see whether your provider or the provider you work with has access to the provider platform. One last thing before I pass it back to Tamar is thank you for your patience, like Tamar mentioned, and thank you for letting us work for you and make your life easier. We really want to make our mission valuable for you, for faster resolution and less effort, like it mentions in the bottom of the slide. Tamar, thank you for letting me present today. I'm passing it back to you. Tamar, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Sorry, that was a rookie mistake. So thank you, Noam, for joining the session. I did notice in the chat that I made a mistake about the curve. It's Japanese and not Chinese, so I'm really sorry about that mistake. And let's look forward together for 2025. And that's just a sneak peek. We have a lot of things going on. Our development schedule is completely bursting at the seams, but we are planning to have some very good and interesting developments for 2025. And that's bringing the new collection automation, taking it to a higher level. So now I mentioned the manifest, but it's partially automatic because we do need some human intervention in different parts of the process. So, but we were thinking, why not fully automate creation of new collections? Why not indeed? So once a provider announces that there's a new collection in this fully automated process, it will trigger an automatic response that reviews all the procedures that are currently reviewed manually. And then it will introduce a new collection to the knowledge bases without any human intervention for that. So we're currently working with one provider just to see how it works. It's taking our experience from the manifest as Noam presented, and we want to make all the other manual actions fully automated. Now, this will presumably reduce the time from metadata availability to appearance, and it will make the collections available much quicker. And another aspect of that focuses on speed and making processes more fast is adding more collections to the daily updates. And this will allow improved turnover, and all the new metadata that we receive from the content providers will be available in the knowledge bases in 1 to 2 days instead of weeks. you saw just a few slides ago how it reduces the number of cases open for collections that are already being updated daily. And we can expect to have the same impact, and hopefully you will feel it with less changes that you need to report to us. Now, focusing on the quality aspect of our projects for 2025, well, we are focusing on the AI enrichment, looking to enrich more mark fields, maybe even the geodecimal code and classification, that we know that it's something that the community would really appreciate in order to better management electronic collections. We're also reaching out to content providers to receive their consent of using part of the full text so we can expand the scope of enriched collections, because we know that once they realize that the added value for them is saving time and money in cataloging, then they will be much more interested in getting on board this project. We're also reviewing the automated processes in the AI enrichment, and especially in the QA processes, to make sure that we can make the process faster and better, and focusing on the quality aspect so that the fields that are being enriched will be enriched properly. Now, so far, feedback on the AI enriched fields is pretty good. If you come across a field that is incorrectly describing the book, then please open a support ticket so we can fix that specific issue, but also we can take it back to our process and maybe tweak them accordingly. And on the customer experience side of content, we're also planning various projects. For example, adding metadata elements to collections, such as collection ID that comes from the content provider. And that will actually allow you to better or easily identify the relevant collection that you just bought, and then you'll just type it in and find the relevant collection with the provider provided collection ID. And then you can activate it in the community zone. We're also working on improving the alerts for deletions, so you'll have the visibility of all collections that are pending deletion from your institution zone, and that will be reflected in the CZ update task list. You'll not have to check in the release notes if something that's planned to be removed is actually activated in your environment, and that would be easier for you to track. Also, releasing the known issues platform, and that is another communication outlet to share various issues that affect users for different products. Content will be part of the known issues platform, and then you can see other reported issues from your community, from the Ex Libris users community, and have a better visibility and tracking of these kind of reported issues. We're also working on developing a mechanism that will manage metadata from providers to reduce override of customer contributions metadata. This also was mentioned in one of the ideas in Idea Exchange, and I'm happy to say that we are working on a development for that to address at least part of the issues that were raised there. Now, we do have more initiatives. These are just the highlights, but I'm very excited just to see what's coming ahead in 2025, and glad to be part of the content team. We have great aspirations for managing metadata on such a large scale, and so many opportunities before us. More to come. And as long as I have your attention, I do want to tell you about 2 webinars for the ALMA roadmap. One is for the AI metadata assistant in the metadata editor, and the other for Primo VE mixed panel user engagement analytics. I'll leave this QR code here for you to scan and register. And I would like to thank you so much for your attention. Now switching to the Q&A. And let me just also add my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out. Maybe we can also review the poll results. I don't know if we.
Yeah. So Tamara, while I asked the first question in the Q&A, you can take a look at your team's message. I sent you the poll results in a chat. So for the first question is. Please remind the community to vote for new providers via the Serve Curve system. Deadline is next Monday, so just a reminder, please take your votes. The question that comes into the box first is, could you share anything additional about unpaywall cleanup? Is there going to be a refresh of content? If so, when?
Well, it's ongoing. It's ongoing, and we're doing it we're doing it not at a one time specifically, but we are doing it gradually. And once we finish going over all the changes that were done with unpaywall, then we will increase the frequency of the updates that we have for this specific package. Because, like I said, it's a very dynamic content, and things change there all the time. It's open access today, it's not tomorrow, and we realize that things need to be updated much more frequently than we currently have.
Okay, a related question, and then I'll let you get to the survey results. To the unpaywall question is it better to report non-open access or broken links for unpaywall content to Ex Libris or to unpaywall?
I would say that reporting directly to unpaywall, it's just cutting the middleman, because when you report it to us, we just relay that information to unpaywall. So just going directly to them and reporting to them. But if it's easier for you just to push the report to Ex Libris button, and that's easier for you, then go ahead.
Okay. Noma answered a question with regards to the manifest content providers. That's in the chat if nobody has looked at that yet. And Tamara, why don't you go ahead and give the survey results while I queue up the next question?
Okay. Sorry, not sure. I'll just do.
Or if you want, or if you want me to announce the survey results, I can do that as well.
Is there, okay, I see that 52% are happy with release notes, which is currently the way that we're posting about new collections. 53% would rather hear it from the listserv, so that's also a good place to hear. 60%, wow, that's the highest score so far. 60% on the monthly content. You don't know how happy that makes me. First of all, nobody asked what is the monthly content newsletter. That means that you know that it exists, you read it, and 60% would like to see it there. So thank you very much. 43% in the Alma announcements. And I see that Knowledge Article and Idea Exchange got the least votes, which means that these are the venues that you're less looking for updates on content. So thank you for that. That's very helpful.
Okay, another question is, what are the procedures for maintaining quality control with fully automated collection creation? Hopefully there's still some manual review.
Yes, that's why it's still in development. We're trying this out with the one provider, and we're doing it very slowly, very carefully. We want to make sure that none of the aspects of creating new collections will be overlooked. So we do have a lot of QAs in place. For example, if the file that was sent is empty, if you know, an ISSN column has text in it and not numbers, so all kinds of these different flags that will be raised once this whole process will be in motion. And I promise you, we will not release it until we checked it at least several times and made sure that it's working as we expect it to.
Okay, another question that's come in is, will the unpaywall collection include a deletion indication like DOAJ? It would be great if records removed by unpaywall were also removed from CDI on a regular basis.
That's a good idea. We can run it by unpaywall and tell them, look, this is what we done with DOAJ. I mean, so far we haven't heard much feedback from users because we don't. It's relatively new. But I guess if we have good feedback on DOAJ, then we can tell unpaywall, listen, this is what was developed. This is very good feedback. People are happy with it. How about we consider doing this with unpaywall content as well? I'm not sure that technically it works on the same level, but the idea itself, I would assume could be also implemented for unpaywall.
Okay, another question that's come in is, any update on Taylor and Francis Auto Holdings collection coverages? If Taylor and Francis can see their content in Alma, why do they not understand the problem?
Well, I expect that, you know, some things are easy to solve. I guess this is not one of them. And they do understand the gravity of having accurate coverage information, but it just it just takes them time to fix it in a sustainable way. So they can see their collections. They know that it's an issue. We raised it with them. I expect I am not really familiar with where it currently stands, but it is being taken care of, and it just I apologize that it takes that longer than we expect, but apparently it's not one of these issues that can be resolved with just a few simple steps.
Okay. There's a couple more that have floated in. Is there any possibility that Ex Libris might consider working with Third Iron to use their curated unpaywall collection so that we could use the Third Iron unpaywall data or collection instead of or in addition to the current unpaywall community zone collection? The curation of unpaywall data that Third Iron provides is very helpful.
I don't fully understand that question. I'm sorry. I'll have to either read it separately and just dive into this a little bit. But Nom, do you have any?
From what I understand,
yeah,
Third Iron also has a collection from unpaywall, only it's more trusted than what we have from unpaywall directly. So the suggestion is that maybe Ex Libris will work with Third Iron to get their unpaywall collection, and maybe this will reduce the number of errors. I wrote it as agenda item to discuss with you after this meeting, so we can see what we can do.
I would also want to mention that you know, Third Iron is a paid service, and if they have, you know, metadata that they work on cleaning up and filtering and making sure that the unpaywall is actually unpaywalled, then it might include a different kind of agreement, or you know, so that should be maybe mentioned about Third Iron cooperation.
Yeah, and I'll just add, thank you very much for adding that comment or that question. We've got your name, so we'll log back and get back to you. But you know, this is an important part of these webinars, just like the listserv is that it provides you an opportunity to exchange ideas and ask the questions for us to improve our services to you. So thank you very much for attending the webinar and engaging with us. Next question is the Manifest initiative a viable option for having consortially specific collections created, or does the initiative focus more on all of the content available from a provider's standard collections? We have a handful of providers with whom we have customer collections, combined DDA profile and purchase content. And if you need me to repeat that, I can repeat it.
No, Tamara, I'll take half of this question. My answer is we can work with any provider/consortia that knows to populate the file according to our standards and knows to populate the KBART file or the title list file in the right location. Having said that, I'm not sure that any collection is suitable to be added to the community zone. So I think we need to test each one of these requests and make sure that the collection is actually valid to be added to the community zone. My recommendation is that you will email me and give me as much information as possible about the type of collection, and I will take it with Tamar, and we'll see whether this is feasible.
Okay. Next question is, what's the problem with Taylor and Francis? Please clarify.
Well, if I understand correctly from the previous question, then it's regarding coverage inaccuracies in Taylor and Francis Auto Holdings. I remember that there was something on that topic. I know that it was being addressed. I'm not 100% sure where it stands now. So, I mean, it also could be an institution-specific issue for inaccurate coverage statement for a specific institution or several institutions. I remember it happened. I'm not sure where it stands now. We can take it offline with the specific person who asked about it, and you know, pick it up from there.
Sounds good. Another question about unpaywall. Unpaywall links often unpaywall links lead to manuscript rather than final review journal article. Is there a way to indicate it's the manuscript?
That's a good question. We'll check. We'll check what can be done with that.
Okay, I'm checking. We don't have any questions. If anybody has a final remaining question, feel free to put it into the Q&A or the chat. We'll pick it up. But in the meantime, you know, for the QR code that's listed on the page, you probably saw it in the chat. The link was extended through the chat as well, along with all the other links. And we will communicate to you with all the links that are available, as well as the session recording, as well as the slides after the session. So Tamar and Noam, if you want to add any final comments to close this session. You know, we've had a couple of very thank yous, or very nice comments to say thank you very much for attending the session or delivering the session. So thank you very much. If you want to do some final comments and close it out, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, just that there's always some stuff to do with content. There's always the next big thing, and having your input and feedback and participation is very important for us to know where to allocate our resources. Now, I know I said we have 2025 bursting already with all kinds of developments and plans, but there's still so much more to do. So I thank you for your support, and anything else that you want to share or notify, just feel free either to drop me a line or Noam directly. That's absolutely fine. I'm happy to have your questions and your responses.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, and remember to fill out that post-event survey that's going to pop up.
And vote for Curve. Vote for the Curve. Yeah.
Vote. Vote. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.